Hi, my name's Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about Glazunov's Fifth Symphony. And I'd like to go through each of the four movements, looking at how the music's put together. I do believe that having some understanding of musical form can greatly aid our appreciation and enjoyment of classical music. Now, Glazunov is always seen as this kind of bridging figure between the 19th century romanticism of Tchaikovsky and some of the Russian nationalist composers such as Mussorgsky and Rimsky-Korsakov, Borodin, etc. And a bridge to the 20th century where we have the likes of Stravinsky, Prokofiev, Shostakovich, etc. But prior to studying this piece, I'd known Glazunov primarily as a composer of the violin concerto, the Seasons, that famous ballet, and indeed someone who completely messed up the premiere of Rachmaninoff's first symphony. Apparently Glazunov was drunk when he premiered Rachmaninoff's first symphony. He was conducting it, and it put Rachmaninoff in a severe depression. So that's kind of what I knew about Glazunov before I studied this. But this is an extremely attractive symphony. It's full of great ideas. It's Russian to the core. Certainly hints of Tchaikovsky about it, but there's a rhythmic vitality to this music as well. Perhaps the young Stravinsky heard this music, particularly the finale. It's really worth getting to know. So the symphony's in four movements, and we begin the first movement with this introduction. And this introduction puts forth a theme which will become the main first subject in the first movement. But we hear it in a slower form first. It goes like this. There's a chant-like quality to that, perhaps reminiscent of the Orthodox Church. And then eventually we hear this new rhythmic idea. It goes like this. And so on. And then we get a return to that main theme, that chant-like theme, with a canon quite beautifully between the oboe and the solo horn. And that eventually leads us to the first subject, which we've heard in a slowed down version already. The meter's changed now. We were in 4 and now we're in 3. Graceful flowing melody, and then eventually that builds to a head and we have this transition idea. It goes like this, and so on, and then that brings us to the extremely beautiful second subject. Really lovely. It goes like this. A really lovely, beautiful melody, really stirring. We have this rather a more chromatic, mysterious idea on the clarinets. Then just before the Codetta, we briefly have a statement of the first and second subjects combined. And then we have the Codetta, brings the exposition to a close. The development consists of all of the themes we've heard so far. The first, the second subject, The second subject we suddenly hear in G flat major, really lovely moment in this movement. The transition features highly as well, and you often hear combinations of those melodies put together. Then the first subject is recapitulated in a truncated form. We have a transition, second subject, and we have the coda, again with the first and second themes combined. And the second movement is this gloriously light scherzo kind of movement. It's really kind of delicate. We have this incredibly brief intro, and then we have this idea. And so on. We also hear another idea in this A section, which is something like. And then we go back to the B section is really folky, really charming melody on the flutes again, and that goes like this. Lovely melody. We have a brief transition back to the A section, slightly varied, B section slightly varied, and then a brief coda. And by the way, the form of each of the movements will be down with the bar numbers in the description below. The third movement is in ternary form, A, B, A, and is very Tchaikovskyan, I think. Extremely romantic. And you hear, we have an introduction again, like quite a slow introduction like the first movement. We have this, some ominous chords, and we have this melody in E flat major. And then that takes us to the A melody proper, which is first stated on the horns and then on the solo flute. So on, really beautiful. Then we have this another idea in the A section. It's very Brahmsian, really reminds me of Brahms. And we come to the B section, the central section. We have this rather funereal sounding brass chorale, goes like this. And then that takes us to another lovely idea. It reminds me of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. We have then another Brahmsian transition back to that beautiful A section melody. And then we have a coda. The fourth movement is really festive. It's really full of fascinating rhythms and syncopations. You know, perhaps did the young Stravinsky hear this? He spoke disparagingly of Glazunov later on in his life, but perhaps was he somehow impressed with this movement. It begins like this. Again, this is in ternary form. but there's a lot of ideas in it. And then we have this. And we have this chant-like melody as well. And so on. And we even have another kind of scurrying idea as well. That finally takes us to the B section, where we've got this wonderfully jazzy syncopation. And we're in G flat major, a bit like we had that spell in the first movement, the second subject in G flat major. Well, we're back in G flat major here, like this. And we go have a return to the A section with all those ideas, slightly varied, and then we have this rousing coda with some more rhythmic variety and surprises. Glazunov's Fifth Symphony is a fantastic work. I have to be honest, I didn't know it. And the great thing about doing this channel is people have commented and asked me to look at certain works. And thank you to Tidnid for suggesting Glazunov's Fifth Symphony. And I really enjoy getting to know this work. I definitely love to see it performed live. And if you've got any pieces you'd like me to look at, please put them in the comments below. If you like this, please click subscribe and like the video. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.